Om Jnana Timantasya Ganagana Salakaya Chakshu Mitam Gena Tasme Shri Guruve Namaha. All glories to our Divine Master Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. I'm very happy to be here in Gupta, Govardhan at the Chiang Mai Ashram with the Holy Association of Srimati Bhakti Lalita Didi and Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj just above us here. So feeling very shy to speak with them on the same property or even in the vicinity because I'm here for hearing first and not talking. So I think I do enough talking in my day-to-day life. So I'm a little shy to speak today, but I'll try to tell something of my experience in the kitchen and cooking for the devotees and our lordships and our Divine Master Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. I was very fortunate enough to get some of his association in my life and be able to cook some nice things for him, and he was happy with that and giving some nice instruction for me in my cooking service for him, which is always necessary in our life as cooks, is to take proper instruction from the devotees, just like in our spiritual life, hearing from the devotees and really trying to follow their instruction. And when coming into the kitchen, I feel this is really important because we are cooking for our Lord and the Vaishnavas, and we want it to be very nice. And Srila Gurudev was such a connoisseur of prasadam and honoring prasad and tasting so many things on so many levels. Really, we can't understand how much Gurudev, had a taste for everything, including prasadam. He was the master of all traits, and he himself was an excellent cook. And in my life, I saw Srila Gurudev make one preparation, and that was on Nityananda Trayodasi. I think it was 2008 or 9, he was in Calcutta, and Gurudev was asking some of his servants there to bring some certain ingredients, and he was wanting to make a preparation, and he was very, very quickly making something, and I was trying to identify what he was doing, and very difficult because he had some divine flow about what he was doing, and very fast he was moving, and he was doing it there just in his chair. And yeah, very, very beautiful way Gurudev, preparing this preparation, and we're all watching, like, kind of awestruck by Gurudev's movements and his flow of, cooking, and the consciousness and focus he was doing when he was making it was something like really amazing I saw in my life. Gurudev making some preparation, and he's asking for different ingredients like, powdered milk and cooked rice or chipped rice and mango, and even the things he was getting, he was receiving very quickly, and people were running trying to accommodate what Gurudev was making, but to keep up at Gurudev's pace was impossible. He was utilizing everyone in the room to make this preparation and bring the ingredients, and Gurudev was mixing and stirring himself, and after he was finished, he took one spoon of this prasadam that he'd made, and he put it to his head, and he told, "This is Nityananda Prasad," and he honored this prasadam, and then he told one of his servants to distribute to the devotees that were there in Calcutta with him. And this prasad Gurudev made was like not of this world. You cannot imagine, something made by our Divine Master, his own hand, with to offer to Nityananda Prabhu on his divine appearance day was something unbelievable. I think this prasadam I tasted nothing like it in my life to this point. I don't think I ever will taste anything like something made by our master, really, really nice. And Gurudev always honoring prasadam very, seriously, and never taking so much people in his room or speaking so much when, honoring prasad. It's some service, we always have to look at that, not just in the process of honoring it, but preparing the bhoga to offer to our Lord, and it's very important when we are cooking to have some proper consciousness of cooking in the kitchen. And I don't know anything, I just know what I am told by the senior devotees and our mission, and so many devotees in my life giving instruction on how to cook properly and with the right consciousness and mood. And we're feeling it so much with the devotees who have been doing it for decades, serving the devotees and cooking for the devotees and Gurudev and our lordship, and they're giving such fine instructions and detail where if you're not paying attention in the kitchen, you can miss so much things, So, from my understanding, it's always very important when we're cooking in the Lord's kitchen, we always come in with a clean conscience, in the sense that we're there as a utensil of the Lord, cooking for the Lord and the Vaishnavas, and always coming in clean, meaning also always bathing properly and wearing devotional clothing when coming in the kitchen. This is a very basic thing, but a very important thing when cooking. We always have to come, put the uniform on, as Srila Govinda Maharaj would say, and Srila Saraswati Thakur would say. You have to put the uniform on, and then we are prepared to serve properly. Is first put the uniform on, meaning take bath and put your dhoti, kurta or sari on and tilak, and come in with a good clean consciousness to cook for the devotees and the Lord. And so much we're tasting when we're cooking, tasting what the devotees' mood is after that is offered in his prasadam. We're tasting what those devotees' consciousness in, and that's the most important ingredient in that prasadam, is the devotees' love and affection and their mood when they're cooking. You can taste that mood, and that's why when we're honoring prasad, you are always saying, oh, the taste is so nice, and that is actually the affection of the devotees that is going into those different foodstuffs they're preparing for the Lord, and that's what we were tasting. So it's always important to try to have that mood. Like, even if you're not a cook like me, I'm like a big sham. Everyone thinks I'm some cook, and I know I'm very good at faking it. So I'm coming in, and I'm always, like my mother taught me, I'm always having the mood where like you can pay obeisances to the stove before you're even preparing. It's like the stove is like non-different from like the Lord. You're Nityananda. It's like you're praying for mercy. Please may I make something, some nice preparation for the devotees and for the offering. So we're coming with that mood of, we are the utensil in there. We are not the doers in the kitchen. And we always have to pay attention to these great Vaishnav cooks in our line. Of course, starting with Srila Gurudev is, the topmost cook, and showing us so much by his example. In his earlier years too, he was cooking, I heard so much, and he was instructing some of his servitors how to make proper preparations, traditional Bengali preparations like this. But we see also with the devotees who are cooking, like such great cooks in our mission. I've seen so many great cooks. Like I can mention a few just to give honor because they've taught me things in my own cooking. Of course, my mother, Maladhari Didi, she's teaching me so much in the kitchen. And Jai Shri Didi from Malaysia, she's also a phenomenal cook. And Rajay Shri Didi from Singapore, a phenomenal cook. Nukula Prabhu, who was a cook for Srila Gurudev, also a very excellent cook and very expert, showing myself so many things. And then the Sokel devotees, the list is very big for the cooks there. Srila Gurudev loved the cooking and the prasad in Sokel Ashram, Seva Ashram there, like Shareshwari Didi, Sanatani Didi, Swarnangi Didi. I mean, so many great cooks there. And even they're not always cooking, some of them, like Sarva Bhavana Prabhu, it's great cooks there. And it's such a high standard in our mission. And we always have to remember to come in as students to the kitchen, and even if we can chop some vegetable in a kitchen of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, we can get so much, because this is where we can learn so much. It's just like another extension of the temple room, So we're going in with this good consciousness of cooking and cooking for the Lord, and then everything can actually turn out very nice. So many times I've prayed for a preparation, like to be nice, for the devotees, because I've been, uncertain of, if I gave too much of this or not enough sugar or something like that. And Srila Gurudev always stressed, I'll make this point because people in our mission don't know. Always you should taste the preparation before offering to Srila Gurudev or even the deities, to make sure, not tasting for your own tongue, but tasting that the salt is right, or it's not too bitter or not too sweet. Like this is a very important thing, and this is Srila Gurudev's mood, always to make sure the preparation was right before offering, because so many times you could see people would offer something to Srila Gurudev and they would put too much salt, or there wouldn't be salt, and Gurudev would tell, did anybody taste this before giving it to me? So this is also a very, important point, a finer point in our mission. And many devotees, they were coming from different backgrounds and different teachers about cooking, and they were taught not to taste before. But this is, the mood of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat is you have to make sure the preparation is right before offering to like Guru, Vaishnava, and, and the deities. So always we have to remember these, it's basic principles, but easy to forget, clean body, clean mind, and like always making sure the preparations are just right. So this isn't easy to do. We need, good cooks and good association to remind us of these things. And like myself, I like to watch people cooking. People are asking me to cook, but I like to see people cooking because we always can learn new things from the devotees. Really, like little tricks, you know. If you ask 30 devotees to make chapatis, they'll make chapatis 30 different ways. Really, I've seen this in something simple like dal or rice or chapatis. Actually, these are the most important preparations when making in the kitchen, because these are the pillars and the staples of the offering. And if you make nice rice, it will be noticed, you know. I've heard Gurudev tell one devotee in Sokel, Ramachandra Prabhu, he said, you know, you make the best rice. So, and I'm thinking, wow, how nice is his rice? If Gurudev is commenting on the rice and there's, you know, 24 preparations, but Gurudev is noticing what the rice tastes like, I'm thinking, wow, he really is giving care and attention for his rice. And same goes for these other preparations, you know. So I'm always happy to take some instruction. If someone has some tip for me or any idea how I can make something nicer, I always am happy to hear that, because we always have to remain students in the kitchen. Just as in our spiritual lives, we have to, you know, we are the students, we are the practitioners, and the standard is very high. You know, like Srila Swami Maharaj set a very high standard of prasadam and carried on in our mission. Gurudev also very high standard of cooking and preparing, you know, the bhoga for the devotees to be, you know, mahaprasadam. So we're always trying to improve so we can please the devotees. And I have so many devotee friends around the world. You know, I'm traveling, and I learned very early on, like, the easiest way to, like, you know, express affection is preparing nice food things for these devotees, and then they reciprocate like tenfold with their affection towards you. Like the Russian devotees are very easy because they like sweets so much, and then you make some nice sweets and they're like, you can capture them very easy with sweets, you know. So like the Russian, you know, Sangha I always thought was the easiest, because you just prepare good sweets all the time. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner, doesn't matter. They're always taking sweet. Then they're always relishing those sweets. So I found that out early, so I'm always cooking sweets when I'm around the Russians. And even our acharyas, you know, Srila Gurudev likes sweets so much. I frequently made sandesh for Srila Gurudev, halava for Srila Gurudev, gulab jamins for Srila Gurudev. And sometimes, of course, because of diet, we have to adjust things for the Vaishnavas. Like, you know, Gurudev couldn't take so much sugar all the time, so we'd have to adjust and make stuff sugar-free. And this isn't an easy thing, but by instruction of the devotees, we can make proper adjustment. That's what religion is proper adjustment. That's what Krishna consciousness is. So even when cooking, we have to be able to make proper adjustment. And that means using what is to, you know, at our disposal to cook, and not, you know, what is in the kitchen. That is a sign of a good cook. Someone who can go into any kitchen and make a nice offering with what is there and not ask for so much. Unfortunately, I am not like that. I'm always giving big lists to buy, you know, many, you know, opulent things, and that's my style. And I've had so much conflict in my life with that, even with my own mother. She says, "You're cooking too opulent." And I said, this is my style. I can't change that. So I'm always trying to adjust, you know. So, but yeah, many nice pastimes of, you know, prasadam and in the kitchen I've had. Most of, you know, a lot of my engagement in service has been in the kitchen. Like I always tell so many devotees, you know, if you can do puja, you always can be engaged in service. If you can sing nice kirtan and, you know, lead nice bhajans, you always can be engaged in service. And same goes for cooking in the kitchen. If you know how to, you know, make a nice offering or cook something special for the devotees, you always can be engaged in service. That's something that's always going on in our mission, you know. 3 times a day there's an offering, so that's constant. That doesn't stop. So if we can, you know, jump on that, you know, that program of cooking, we can be engaged as much as we want, actually, you know, helping or even, you know, making offerings ourselves, you know, whatever's necessary. That's what Gurudev always said, you know, do the needful, do the necessary. So always there's some necessity for cooks in the kitchen. And I saw even here, they're preparing such nice prasadam. Actually, the devotees are learning so nicely here in Chiang Mai. Like when I came the first time, there was a lot of devotees just coming from Russia, and it's a different style of cooking, and they've adapted so nicely to that maybe more traditional style of cooking, you know, the dal, the rice, the sabji and stuff. And I'm really impressed with the level of, you know, prasad they're cooking here. I'm really like hesitant even to come in the kitchen, because why do I need to cook? People are doing it so nicely here. Well, I'll just come and, you know, disrupt the environment. So, But yeah, anyways, they're always service in the kitchen. So anybody who has any inclination to do kitchen seva, I urge you strongly, go in the kitchen and help prepare something, because you never learn how to cook if you don't, help a cook or listen to a cook. So, and many Vaishnavas have many nice vegetarian restaurants in our mission too, and they're doing so much nice cooking and selling that food and using the money to help serve the missions around the world. Srila Bhakti Bimala Vadut Maharaj, he, along with Yadu Krishna, they have the Jagannath Express all through Russia and some other Soviet countries. They're doing very nicely. And Rajeshwari Didi has Gokuls, and in Singapore, and then in Australia there's the bamboo flute and heart and halo, and the list actually goes on, because where there is food being sold, there can be money to be made for the temple. And Srila Prabhupada actually said that if always money can be made in food. So devotees have always, I think, used that formula, as we see. So. And with prasadam too, like I can actually, this can be a 1-hour class or like a 24-hour class, because I can speak so much about prasadam, or nice food things I've taken. And actually later on in Gurudev's manifest pastimes, he wouldn't be feeling so well, and we'd be sitting with him and it would be very quiet. Then I would just start naming some of the preparations that Mangal Maharaj had made that day for some feast, and instantly Gurudev's mood would turn, and he would be smiling and asking, and what else, Prabhu? What else did he make? And I'd be listing, shak, sweet rice, and Mangal Maharaj, a very expert cook, and Gurudev would just, maybe he wasn't able to honor everything just because of his health condition, but he would just relish hearing what the devotees were honoring, for some big, mahotsav or some big feast. And that would really bring Gurudev's mood up, was, what the prasadam was and what the devotees were taking, And then we go to places like Jagannath Puri, and we can honor like Jagannath Prasad from the Jagannath temple. And this kind of prasad is, so nice. You go there and really there's some consciousness for honoring Jagannath Prasad. Srila Acharya Maharaj would say when we were there taking, not to waste 1 grain of rice, because if you do, it will be some offense to the Jagannath Prasad, and it is told you can get elephantitis for wasting 1 grain. So all the devotees are very carefully honoring prasadam there, and like almost some fear is there to like waste any of that Jagannath Prasad. But very nice prasad, and those cooks there in Jagannath Puri are coming from a lineage of generations and generations and generations of cooks who are just, that's what they're trained to do. Unfortunately, like I didn't have any in my own practice of bhakti yoga. I didn't have any desire so early on in my life to start cooking. It came later when I was in the temple more and associating with these cooks. I got some desire to cook. There was a time I didn't even know how to cut a cauliflower properly, and it wasn't that long ago. That's why I always say I'm a little bit of a sham when it comes to the kitchen. It's all show. Actually, I'm not that good of a cook, but by the mercy of the devotees, they're always encouraging me to cook something more. So I'm always trying to make something nice and offer it to the devotees. And the devotees have very fine taste for prasadam too. And we always want to, try to adjust to their taste. We see even our acharyas in our mission, Srila Acharya Maharaj, when he's honoring prasad, he actually he likes his prasad even very salty. By anybody's taste, it would be overly salted, but that's how he likes to take it. And Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj, he loves sweet. Maybe it's not the best thing for us or him, but he likes to honor sweets, and there's so many sweets that he'll take, and if you can prepare nicely, like he'll remember that and always remind you, can you make this sweet for me, or can is it possible we have some of this? And it's very nice when you find out what our leaders and our acharyas and the sadhus of our mission they like to eat, because if you're in their association, you can try to prepare these things. And Srila Bhakti Kusamashra Maharaj, he doesn't take so much gluten, so if you can find some way to prepare some nice, gluten-free preparation, or chapatis, or gluten-free pizza, or something like that for him, he'll be very pleased. Or, Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardana Maharaj, he's not so picky. If you can make things like dal very nicely, he will be happy if the dal is good, but his standard is very high because he's been honoring prasadam for decades. So I mean, really, when I say you have to make dal nice, it has to be, you know, really nice and not so difficult, but it's just the people who are making and what their idea of, you know, what is nice. So some nice dal, you know, Srila Janardana Maharaj likes a good dal. And then there's also, you know, Vaishnavas like Srila Bhakti Bimal Avadut Maharaj, and he's like the consumer of many things. You know, he will take anything, but if you can make something, you know, in a special style he likes, you know, so much barbecue of things, you know, barbecuing vegetables or anything like that. He really likes something that's more, I guess you could say, traditional style cooked, like you see in Lata Temple and outside of St. Petersburg. At the temple there, it's you cook on a lot of wood fire, and you know that adds a certain flavor to the prasadam, and it's actually very nice because in India they're using so much, you know, open flame to cook, so it's a different style of, you know, cooking is on that wood fire. So Avadut Maharaj, I think, has some special taste for that kind of, you know, more smoky taste prasadam. And then you see also like Vaishnavas, like, you know, like I was saying, Srila Goswami Maharaj he likes sweets so much, he would tell some history of sweets, you know, to me in his days of ISKCON. They would be out on preaching programs in Calcutta or in India, and he would tell me of these sweet shops that Srila Prabhupada used to go to, or Srila Gurudev used to go to, you know, our Guru Varga, I mean, the places where they would take sweets, you know. He would tell these places, and I would try to find them and, you know, bring these sweets for Gurudev and the devotees and for Goswami Maharaj as well. And like some phenomenal sweet makers, because it's like the people who created these sweets, like they come from a line, it's like their disciplic succession of sweet making. Like this one sweet shop in Calcutta is where, you know, their father's father, he invented the rasgulla by accident, and that's the place where you take the nicest rasgulla. Or there's some sandesh shop there in, you know, Calcutta that's 250 years old, and you go and they just make sandesh, and Gurudev used to like so much this sandesh. Or like places like this, or other sweet shops Srila Prabhupada used to go to and take, you know, burfi. And we're always, you know, trying to find how we can please the Vaishnavas, and prasadam is always a very nice way to please the devotees, you know, because they have such a high taste, and for things like prasadam they're expert at tasting. So if we can find those very nice things. And there's always a joke I tell too. Goswami Maharaj always told me about this sweet. It was called Rasa Raj, you know. He's like, oh, we took this sweet, and I haven't had it in 30 years, Ram. And he's telling me about this, and I said, I like Rasa Raj. I think it sounds like a very high sweet, you know. I'm thinking, where do you find something like this? And he said, you can't find it anymore. And then I'm looking, you know, I'm buying so much sweets for, you know, programs or feasts or festivals or Gurudev. And I'm always looking for this Rasa Raj, you know. And it's kind of like, you know, we were actually searching for Krishna. It's like Ram is searching for Rasa Raj, this sweet, and I'm not finding it for a long time. And at one time, a few years ago, I'm waiting for some train, you know, in Shelda Station in Calcutta, and I wander into the little market area, and there's some Vaishnav sweet shop there, and they have, you know, beautiful pictures of deities, and all the sweet makers are wearing, you know, tulsi mala and have tilak, and it's a very like sattvic environment, you know, full of Vaishnav sweet makers, and sure enough they have Rasa Raj, and I'm thinking, wow. But of course Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj is not in India at the time, and he's, you know, in a different country, and I'm thinking, how can he taste? You know, how can I bring this to him? And still to this day I'm thinking, when he's in India, I will make special trip back to this shop. Hopefully I can find it, and I will bring this to him, because like I found this sweet, you know. And it's like I laugh because Goswami Maharaj still will say in some lecture, he said, and Ram is out there looking for Rasa Raj, he cannot find it. And I told, no Maharaj, I found it. Until I give him that sweet, then he will not believe. So yeah, of course I tried. Very sweet, very sweet. It's like the equivalent of a rasgulla cut in half with like some cooked down kheer in the middle, like soaked in sugar water. It's something like really sweet and really nice, but definitely for those with the refined taste of, you know, honoring these kind of sweets. And I tried it, and it was very nice, of course. But yeah, there's so many stories about prasadam. Even with Srila Gurudev, you know, he would take breakfast every morning, sometimes, you know, 5:30, sometimes 6 o'clock, sometimes 4:30, depending on when he woke up. He could take breakfast very early, and And I had a kitchen in my room in India, and sometimes I would cook something and offer it to Srila Gurudev. I didn't go through the proper channel, I guess. I didn't cook things in Gurudev's kitchen because, his servitors were in there cooking so many nice things. I didn't want to, disrupt. But sometimes I would make something and bring it to Gurudev and offer him. And he liked so much the halava I would make. And he asked me one time, he said, Ram, this halava you're making is very nice, but, I cannot command you to make this for me every day for breakfast. I cannot tell you to make this every day. And one of his servitors, I can take Gurudev's message. He's very humorous, a very humorous master, and I can understand, okay, I can make, Gurudev, no problem, I'm happy to make for you. And one of his servitors is saying, that means he wants you to make for him, Rama, every day. I say, I know, I understand that, I want to make. And so for the next few months, I would wake up every morning at 5 o'clock in my room and make halava for Srila Gurudev and would bring to him. He's very happily taking it. And some mornings I was so worried that I would sleep or wouldn't wake up. I would be waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and start cooking, and I would realize I was actually not awake. I was sleep cooking, almost as some very nervous to not have what Gurudev wanted on time. So I would be cooking half asleep in my kitchen, and I would realize, hey, Gurudev doesn't need to take breakfast for another hour or 2 hours. So I would go back to sleep and then wake up again. And some mornings Saraswati Didi would come pounding on my door to wake me up, Gurudev is asking for this, and not because I slept too long, but because Gurudev woke up really early. So I always had some little uneasiness that I couldn't give what Gurudev wanted when he wanted. So we always had to try to be ready at any time, and for that, not always sleeping so well, or sometimes sleeping and cooking at the same time. And Gurudev would often he'd be in his veranda and he'd be asking, he would say, I want rasgulla, and sometimes he would say without sugar or with sugar, and you could get the diabetic rasgullas, and someone would come out and say, Ram, go to Bangor Avenue and take rasgullas. So it would be this, how fast can you travel to one area and take something and get back? Is a rickshaw going to be faster? Are you running? Or do you have to swim across this river of stool in Calcutta? How do you get there? And how do you get it to Gurudev, and deliver that? So always it was a race, to how do you get, what Gurudev wants, when he wants, and, a good manner of time. So we'd be running here and there, and his servitors would be taking rickshaws or running to Bangor Avenue to get Gurudev some nice sweet or some nice food stuff that he would like. And often in Navadip we'd be taking some walk, and Gurudev loved so much the samosas from the Mott's restaurant there that was just next to the Mott. If you guys have been to Navadip, there's one cafe there that they have, and at the time Gurudev would always honor the samosas. He loved the samosas there, and he said, oh, these are the best samosas in Navadip. And we'd be on some walk with Gurudev, and I'd be pushing him in his wheelchair or walking alongside him, and he would stop the whole, his whole entourage of everyone that was on that morning walk with him. And we'd be behind Guru Maharaj's Samadhi Mandir or somewhere in Govinda Kunda, and he would just look at a devotee or look up, at me, and he'd say, samosa. And then you would be it was oh, and you just start running. Then you would understand Gurudev wants samosa, and you almost wouldn't register, and you you would just start moving, and then figure it out later, and you'd run into the cafe there and the restaurant in Navadip, and you can't deal with these people working there because they're Indian, very slow mood, and 20 minutes to put a samosa in a bag. So you just have to reach behind the counter and take samosas yourself, and they'd be yelling at you, and it's for Srila Govinda Maharaj, not bothering, they don't exist, and you'd run back, and Gurudev would take and continue on his walk. And I think not just the joy Gurudev got in taking, honoring the different kinds of food stuff and prasad, but seeing the devotees having to labor to get it, or how they would get it, and how it would come to him. He really relished that, I think, keeping the devotees on their feet. And Bhakti Lalita Didi knows so well all the different pastimes of Gurudev's cooks and people in the kitchen, and in his kitchen in Calcutta or Navadip. It was always it was something to see. You could make a documentary about the cooks, because everyone had their own techniques and styles for, how they would prepare stuff for Gurudev, and very nice things they would prepare for Srila Gurudev. And always the devotees would bring the nicest things for Srila Gurudev, different foodstuffs for, his cooks to prepare. And like I said before, Gurudev was, he was the master at tasting, he, like on so many levels, inconceivable, his taste for things that were being prepared for him. And Gurudev he would taste that love and affection. I saw so much that the devotees, some of his servitors, he wanted toast one day, something very simple. And one of his devotees, servitors made some toast, and for whatever reason, the toast got burnt. And I don't know what, Gurudev was like, where's my toast? And maybe it was like the last piece of bread or something. So they're like, oh, Gurudev, and no, just bring it. They couldn't not have Gurudev take it. And the toast was burned, and they tried scraping it and everything. And Gurudev looked at the toast and was like, he didn't say anything. And Gurudev, he ate the toast, and he ate it very happily. And then in the meantime, another one of his servitors, in his veranda, had run to the market to take more bread, and to make more toast, because they saw that was burning. And immediately they left. And Gurudev took the toast and, took some hot drink happily and didn't say anything, no complaints, and very happily he took. And I'm thinking, wow, that's Gurudev tasting the affection of the devotees. They're offering very nicely, and Gurudev's accepting. And then Gurudev was done, and the devotee came back. It was Nukula Prabhu, and he went in, and before anyone could tell him anything, he's very fast, an expert servitor of Gurudev. He makes more toast, and he brings it out to Gurudev, and everyone's looking like Gurudev already took toast. And Gurudev didn't say anything. Gurudev took the toast, and he honored, 2 more pieces of toast very happily. And I'm thinking, and this is Gurudev's affection, He's accepting our service, and he's accepting it very happily, and he's accepting that affection, and he's really doing it in such a way of the utmost, humility and tolerance, so much tolerating. Gurudev had to tolerate, even myself, Gurudev's tolerating so much, and you can see if something wasn't right and Gurudev took it, even he'd be tolerating, and you would feel like, oh, I didn't make that properly or something. That's why it's always so important to be really conscious when cooking, especially for our gurus and our spiritual masters, to making something very nicely. It's be conscious of it, and always trying to make sure it's a good taste for them, and they'll be happy, because they're humble and they'll take it anyways. And sometimes they'll say something and sometimes they won't, and it's the times they won't say something, it's the scary times, because you don't know how to adjust properly, and maybe you think something is right and it's not right. So we're always learning, we're students in the kitchen, and we have to learn from those people who've been doing it for decades. They've been cooking, and they've been cooking in such a sweet mood and cooking in such a nice way. And to the extent where Gurudev would be sitting in his veranda in India, and he'd be talking about breakfast that Shireshwari Didi would make him in California, and how he wanted to go just to take that breakfast in Soquel. He wanted to travel, and he would say, I want to go there just so I can take the breakfast that Shireshwari's making me. And then he'd say, inconceivable Gurudev's affection for the devotees, and through honoring the foodstuffs and prasadam that the devotees are preparing for Gurudev, you would see the devotees are getting so much joy in seeing Gurudev relish these things, and so happy, and we can see now with Gurudev's his stalwart Vaishnavas in this mission, those people who are our leaders and our gurus now, they like certain things, and they have fine taste like Srila Gurudev. And if we can understand what they like, and we can make something nice for them, they'll be very pleased with us. And I gave some hint to what these acharyas like, and yet of course diet is changing, and everyone is getting older, so they can't take what they used to take, but they all have weak spots for some certain preparation. And if we can find that out, they'll be very happy with us. And and sometimes you may take some chastisement from the devotees if you're giving something that may not be right for their health. So much when I was cooking for Gurudev, he would ask for things, like sweet things. I used to cook a lot of sweets for Gurudev, sugar-free and with sugar, especially in Thailand when we stayed in Thailand. And the devotees would be like, Ram, don't make this sweet today. Gurudev's blood sugar is too high. I say, yeah, I won't make. But then, our master, Srila Govinda Maharaj, Jagat Guru, Guru of the, the Guru's Guru, he's looking at us and asking us directly, make this for me. You cannot say no to that. So we have to adjust, and you have to sometimes, take some flack for preparing some special preparation for these devotees and to please the Vaishnavas. And actually, Gurudev can digest everything, People, we would see, I would see, and devotees would see sometimes Gurudev's health was very poor, and we would say, oh, Gurudev's very sick. But this is actually something we're seeing with our external eye. Gurudev is, Paramahamsa Vaishnava, and Gurudev, even when he was highly diabetic, he could take so much, and okay, maybe some balance is there, of course, but Gurudev really could digest it all. And when he wanted sweets, you would not say, no, Gurudev, no sweets. Some would try, and they got it the worst, but I was not of that, caliber of devotee to say, no, Gurudev, because I was, I always was trying to just do what he said, and that's always what we need to try to do is, do what our Guru says and try to take that, to heart and follow that in our whole life, And now Gurudev is, he departed 5 years ago, and people are always lamenting like, oh, Gurudev is not here and this and that. Yeah, Gurudev is here, he's with us, and he's still seeing what we're preparing and offering. And he said in Sokel even, many years ago, he said, after I leave, I'll come back as a ghost and sit in that tree and watch what you guys are offering me, what food stuff. And that's where actually the devotees built a Pushpa Samadhi for Srila Gurudev in Sokel, is on that hill under that tree. And every day they're making very nice preparations in Sokel, and they're offering. And very fondly, Hasapriya is remembering that story, and Hasapriya Prabhu is telling that story about Gurudev remembering, saying, hey, I'm coming back and seeing what everyone's cooking for me, so don't stop cooking nicely, because Gurudev is still here, and he's still honoring and relishing those affectionate preparations that the devotees are making and offering. And like I said, we can get so much fulfillment for seeing the Vaishnavas pleased with what we're trying to, offer and make, and what labor of love we're giving. And really, not important ingredient, even if you don't know how to cook, if you're trying and you're giving some love and affection and some attentive care, it will be nice. And by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, they will honor happily, and they will encourage you to cook. So I'm always trying to encourage anybody who wants to cook, please go in the kitchen. There's tons of cooking service, relieve some of these, these cooks have been doing it for 50 years and come, and the new generation of cooks, these younger devotees, there's never too young to go in and assist or chop a vegetable or wash pots. Even washing pots, you can learn so much about, what's been cooked, or, what's been burned, or whatever is coming through the kitchen and being offered, you can learn, And one cook I forgot to talk about was Ramai Archaniketan Prabhu in Sokel. He's the pujari there, and very nice pujari, doing his service so nicely. And every day he's making burfi. Every day without fail he's cooking very nice burfi. And I'm always asking him, please teach me your burfi. And he'll write me and say, this is how you make it. And never I can make like him. And I've tried so many times just to make exactly like he does, and I can't understand. And then it dawned on me, it's not the ingredient, those physical things we're putting in. It's his mood while he's making it. And, he's a caliber of Vaishnava that's, he's doing it with such love and affection. It's making it like something very exquisite, for those deities there, Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhariju in Sokel. He's making very nice sweets every day, burfi. And so if you're ever there and you're fortunate enough, you can see there's some bag of Mahaprasad, burfi in the fridge that he's cooking every day. And it's kind of was a hidden thing before. Now all the devotees know. So even to find one piece left in there is very difficult, because some devotees are coming and very greedily taking the whole bag, but that is okay, because it's told we're allowed to steal prasadam. This is mercy, and if we can take that mercy, we must take. If someone's offering us prasad, we must take that. Now, not to wait, not to delay. And that's the mood of our Lord. Mahaprabhu. Even the pastime of Sarvabhava Bhaktacharya that we hear in the Golden Volcano. Srila Guru Maharaj is recounting when Mahaprabhu is converting him, and these so many talks in so many days. Sarvabhavana was speaking, this philosophy to Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu was listening very quietly, and Sarvabhavana is, wondering that he's not saying anything, and he's very worried, and Mahaprabhu is, he's giving so many realizations on very fine points, and points that, Sarvabhavana didn't touch on, and he's really showing the true, like, siddhanta of this, of these things we're taught, and he's showing Sarvabhavana, and he's converting Sarvabhavana. But the point I'm making is when Guru Maharaj says, when Mahaprabhu was like, chanting and very happy that like, look now, I've converted this, first class Pandit, Sarvabhavana Bhattacharya, is when he came in morning time to Sarvabhavana's house, and he offered him, take this prasadam, and without even taking bath or washing his mouth, like these Brahmins do before even honoring prasad, instantly, Sarvabhavana took that prasad, like forgetting all these, these principles that he was taught as a Brahmana growing up, and he, affectionate way, he's honoring this, and then Mahaprabhu is like, just see, Sarvabhavana is now like, he's a devotee, he's come to that, and that's a very nice thing. I'm not accounting the story so nicely, but Srila Guru Maharaj, he really tells it nicely in Golden Volcano. You can go read that pastime in Sarvabhava Bhattacharya, Bama Bhattacharya, yeah. And yeah, just very nice pastimes we're hearing about prasad. And Chaitanya Charitamrita also we're hearing, was it Damayanti, I believe, was also when Mahaprabhu was on his, pilgrimage to Puri. They stopped at one home, and this girl Damayanti is preparing so many food preps. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you can hear like all the different preparations they're preparing for Mahaprabhu, for their pilgrimage down to Jagannath Puri, and very nice pastimes. Always we're hearing prasad lila of our Lord and our gurus and our acharyas, and very nice things we can always hear about prasadam, and how the devotees are very pleased to honor one preparation, or on certain high holidays in our mission, the devotees are preparing certain things that Srila Guru Maharaj would like, or Srila Gurudev would like, or things that we'd hear Mahaprabhu would honor, and Gaur Leela or Nityananda Prabhu, what they would honor, and then we're trying to, prepare these things. But just like anything else, we're just regurgitating what we're taught, So if someone's teaching us to cook, we're like, anything I know how to cook is just by the mercy of the devotees, what they've taught me. I have no original style. I'm imitating everyone and trying, to make something nicely. So, yeah. In that way, prasadam is always going on, 3 offerings a day in our temples, and there's always tons of service in the kitchen, and we have to just, you have to want to learn how to cook too. There's so many people who, they don't cook, and that's great because they're singing nicely or they're giving nice class. Like, I'm not a person who should be sitting here giving any class. I should be in the kitchen right now. Actually, today we wanted to do some master class of me cooking something. I feel a lot more comfortable with a spatula in my hand and an apron on than sitting in front of devotees, especially like Bhakti Lalita Didi, who like I said, I'm very shy to be speaking in front of. She's here and she's very qualified, and I don't get to see her so much, and then I have to hear my own self speak when she can be speaking nicely, and I have to leave tomorrow. So I really would like to invite her to say something for like 5 or 10 minutes about whatever, so we can get some of her nice Krishna katha, because it's very, very sweet. And now we know she's not doing the live broadcast anymore, and I'm asking, and she's humbly declining. That's fine. Now, any questions or anything? Oh, okay, good.
Can you tell us how to make something, like one of your trademark preparations?
I can't do that, actually. I'm sorry. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Yeah, sure. I like to make easy things, actually. Easy things are always nice because simple, sometimes less is more, as we're taught in the kitchen. So I like to make sandesh, and sandesh is very easy. A lot of people know how to make paneer. So paneer is something simple. You boil milk, and you turn that milk with some citrus or something like vinegar or anything you have that will turn the milk. Yogurt is always very nice for turning milk. If you have yogurt, that makes the nicest sandesh. And yeah, good quality whole milk, and nice, temple-made yogurt to make a nice paneer as your base for so many sweets. So many sweets are coming from that paneer base. So yeah, sandesh is, you make paneer in the typical way. If you don't know how, you ask pretty much any devotee, and they've seen it been made or made it themselves, and it's not a hard thing to make. Like I said, you turn the milk with some citrus or something else like vinegar, and you hang it or press it, and then when the moisture has gone, then you start to work the paneer into a softer form of milk, of course, and it almost becomes like a clay or a Play-Doh if you work it hard enough. And that's the thing, a lot of people will use food processors or mixers to kind of work the paneer into a softer, more pliable, medium to do something. But the real trick is, if you can do it with your hands and, put some, of energy and some of that, some of that good consciousness into making it and kneading it, you can, make something very, very nice, and the devotees can taste that. So you knead some paneer into a very silky, smooth, almost like Play-Doh-y texture type mass, and then you can add whatever flavor you'd like to make. I usually do simple. Like I said, I'll add some lemon juice, and always you do 1/4 powdered sugar to however big your ball of paneer is. You do 1/4 powdered sugar, and you add some lemon juice, and you knead that some more until it's very silky and smooth. And then you can always top it with a nice roasted nut or roasted coconut or some kind of fresh fruit or something that looks very appealing. Always look is an important thing when cooking, to make something that looks very beautiful, So something like strawberry, I made some strawberry sandesh. You cut some strawberry and put some strawberry there, and I don't generally refrigerate a lot of sweets I make, especially sandesh, because the refrigerator takes so much taste from it. So generally we see in India, in the Bengali sweet shops, or the sweet shops in Vrindavan, that they don't refrigerate. Their sweets will last a few days, and then after, what they don't sell, they discard. So not so much refrigeration going on. So I always emphasize that when making sandesh, like not to refrigerate. Obviously it's best if you can serve it fresh, and sometimes of circumstances you have to refrigerate, okay, that's fine, but I always say don't refrigerate, serve fresh is always the nice way. So yeah, sandesh is a very easy thing. Like I said, you knead the paneer until it's smooth, and you add 1/4 powdered sugar to your mass of kneaded paneer, and knead it some more, and you add whatever flavor you like, and it's all in the care and consciousness you're putting into it, that kneading, that really, and who taught me how to make sandesh was Vaishnava Maharaj, Srila Prabhu, formerly Srila Prabhu. He was, expert at making so many things, and he was another cook that I didn't mention, that cooking very nice things, always cooking very beautiful preparations, and also teaching me how to make nice khichdi and sandesh that Gurudev liked so much. Srila Prabhu taught me, and his son Satrughna Shugi is always making the sandesh in SoCal, and we always have some nice joke, because he's always making the sandesh, and I always say, I want to make the sandesh, and sometimes we're both making, and it's always like a very friendly kind of competition in the kitchen to make nice, sandesh like that. So yeah, sandesh is a very easy thing, and if you don't know, also you can always look in Jamuna's cookbook. It's a very nice guide to look in there, and always you can do variations of what she's cooking, put your own twist on it. But I mean, that's kind of the cooking Bible for so many devotees who cook in our mission, is like to refer to what Jamuna said. Jamuna being from ISKCON, one of Prabhupada's senior disciples, and she was cooking so many nice things, and she made a very beautiful cookbook. It's like Krishna's cuisine, cooking for Krishna, like that. So very nice. And also Kurma has nice cookbooks. So we also can learn from these people, maybe not directly, but they have YouTube videos, cookbooks that we can go in, and we can take some idea, and then if we can, do as they do, it will be nice, or put some variation, it will also be nice, like that. So, and yeah, like this. So much cooking is always going on, and we like to make opulent sometimes, and sometimes Gurudev like more simple things. And I can remember one time Srila Gurudev, he would have a lot of guests come and see him, like exalted Vaishnavas and acharyas of the Gaudiya mission. And one time, one very prevalent ISKCON guru, Radhanath Swami, came to visit Srila Gurudev. A few times he came, and the first time he'd come, he came to Gurudev, very happy to meet with Gurudev. And Gurudev, Gurudev would always, receive him with, refreshments or some, always offering water and, some foodstuffs. And Radhanath Swami was recounting the time of Guru Maharaj when he would come see Guru Maharaj, and he would be taking muri and doi, very simple prasad and namad at the time he was taking, and Gurudev would bring him muri and doi, it's simple, but, substantial for breakfast, and a regular thing in our mission, in Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat for breakfast is you'll get some muri and doi and maybe a banana or something like that. So Radhanath Swami was very happily remembering that Gurudev brought, and then he was telling the story of when Srila Gurudev would be in Calcutta with Srila Swami Maharaj, and Srila Swami Maharaj would tell Gurudev, you can't cheat your stomach, and Swami Maharaj would be making, puris, luchi, sabji, or chana dal for breakfast, very substantial breakfast, rich, but that style of, Srila Prabhupada. A very nice style, actually. I'm quite fond of it. I grew up on it. My mother was cooking that way so much. So I like it so much. But, Gurudev was coming from more simple background of, honoring breakfast, muri, doi, and bananas. So Radhanath Swami's recounting this, and he was, remembering how Gurudev would tell the story of Srila Prabhupada, Swami Maharaj, and how he would say, don't cheat your stomach. And Gurudev was remembering that, and Radhanath Swami, then you're giving me muri and doi. And Radhanath Swami saying it in a nice way, but Gurudev is taking some note of that. And then the next time Radhanath Maharaj came to visit Gurudev, Gurudev was asking, me, he said, I want you to prepare some special breakfast for him and his entourage when they come, something extraordinary, he didn't say what, but he said, make some nice breakfast. So I prepared many preparations, fresh chana, halava, chickpea sabji, puris, really, really nice breakfast. And Radhanath Maharaj came and saw Gurudev, and sure enough, again, Radhanath Maharaj was bringing up this account. This was many months later, maybe even the next year, and he was telling the muri story, and Gurudev looks over and said, is there some breakfast ready for Maharaj? And, yes, Gurudev. And Gurudev very happy because, Gurudev very attentive for these kind of fine details, and gave him some very opulent breakfast, and Maharaj took something, and his entourage was all very happy to honor their gurus, prasadam like that. And Gurudev always with a very fine, he'd seen the finer details of prasadam and how to serve the devotees, and we saw that, in his life so much. Bhakti-Lita can probably, remember so many stories of being with Gurudev for so many years of, just his, attention for detail, and for prasadam he had a very fine attention for, because he was, like we say, a great master of honoring, prasadam. So, but any other questions or anything?
What's your halava recipe?
That's halava's it's everyone who cooks knows halava. It's a very basic thing, but some variations that Jai Shri Didi taught me from Malaysia. She uses brown sugar opposed to white sugar, and a Bengali devotee always said you should roast the grain before frying it with butter, with some bay leaf, these more simpler things, but nothing too special of the standard halava. You fry the grain, and then you make some sugar water with whatever fruit or flavor you want, and then you mix it. But the finer points of a brown sugar opposed to a white sugar, or roasting some grain opposed to, just frying it right off the bat and stuff like that to bring the flavor out. And even Gurudev himself is giving some instruction. If you're using raisin, you should always, fry the raisins separately so they expand nicely and has a good look, not just taste, but also looking nicely. So yeah, halava is an easy thing, but like I said before, it's also that attention for detail that matters so much in it. Those finer things that devotees can teach us about it. You ask 20 devotees how to make halava, and they'll tell you 20 different ways. Some using milk and water, some using just water, and some covering after it's cooked to let the grain raise and be fluffy. It's so many styles. It's actually can be quite overwhelming if you try to learn every style. It's I find if you find one good technique of making something, and it tastes good, and the devotees are happy, or Gurudev's happy, you stick with that, and you don't ever change. Because, like they say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So, yeah, like that. But I think everyone's heard enough about prasadam from me, and maybe in some places in the world, it's time for prasadam. So, I think we can.
You made everybody hungry.
There are two questions from Jai Govinda Prabhu. He's from Ireland. And first one, how do you make khichdi?
How do I make khichdi? Okay. Well, this is one of the things I was talking about that I kind of cheat on a little bit. Initially, when Vaishnava Srila Prabhu, formerly Srila Prabhu, taught me how to make khichdi, it was with a pressure cooker. And khichdi is something you can take, breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's always a good thing. It's very substantial, beans, rice, dal beans and rice, and any vegetable you have or anything pretty much you have to put in it, you can put in it. But what he taught me is with a pressure cooker initially, and you would make some chants, with ghee preferably, if not ghee, oil, and you would roast whole gram masala, meaning cinnamon, cardamom, and clove, with a little bit of sugar, and then green chili if you have, or dried red chili. You'd make some chants, and then you also can add fresh ginger, which is really nice, very simple. And then you make some nice chants, and then you add your dal, your water, your rice, unrinsed rice, not to rinse the rice. A lot of people wash the rice, which takes actually a lot of the flavor out of it, and sometimes it's necessary because of bugs or whatever storing conditions. But unrinsed rice, and you do, usually it's about six parts in the pressure cooker, 6 parts water to like 1 part dal and rice. And then you would add any vegetable, carrot, chopped carrots nice, tomatoes nice, chunks of fried paneer are nice. Add those vegetables, and some turmeric you would also add, and then you would bring it to let the pressure cooker pop 3 times, and then it would be done very quickly. You could make khichdi with a pressure cooker, but later on I didn't use pressure cookers so much in the kitchen because a lot of kitchens don't have them, or they just don't use them. So generally what I do is I'll do my chants at the end, and I'll get my dal and my rice and my water. I'll start boiling, I'll bring it to a boil, and then I'll add salt and turmeric to give a nice color. The color of khichdi is very important. That very bright, like vibrant yellow color is very important. So you would bring it to a boil and cook it down where the dal and the rice would be cooked. And then you add your vegetables in there before everything's cooked, so that whatever, if it's a carrot or harder vegetable, add it with enough time to become hard. And then at the end you make a chants, on the side like I previously talked about. Or if you don't want to use whole spices, you can just do powdered spices directly in there, and that's like a little cheating way, a fast way. I've done it in the past if we're making big quantities for some festival or for like a preaching program. I'll just do some powdered spices in there, some cumin also I'll throw in there, and the spices I mentioned before, maybe some powdered gram masala in there, and a couple spoons of ghee. And you can just, that's really the cheating way. And then you kind of it'll come to a nice thick structure. That's nice. Khichdi is always, in my opinion, is thicker and not so runny and liquidy. Thicker meaning it can take kind of a little bit of shape when you're eating. It doesn't run all over the plate and mix with everything else. But yeah, like that basic, like gram masala, some fresh ginger, some cumin, some turmeric, and preferably in a chants beforehand, and just some time too to cook the dal down. Usually, if you don't have a pressure cooker, it'll take you 40 minutes, 45 minutes to make a nice khichdi, depending on quantity. So, and always some paneer is nice in there, or some chopped carrots, or anything like that's always very beautiful in the khichdi. And khichdi is great served with chutney, yogurt, and a wedge of lime on the side. And if you have some puri, of course, or papadam as well, that's like a complete khichdi feast. And if you make that, which isn't so difficult, to do a chutney and then chop a lime and have a dollop of yogurt on the side, it all complements each other very nicely, and it's pretty substantial for any kind of meal. So, and some nice salad maybe too. I'm a fan of khichdi. I eat a lot of khichdi, as you can see. Anything else?
Yes. Jai Govinda Prabhu said, I'm taking notes. He also asked to tell maybe a couple of words about Ekadashi preparations.
Yeah, okay, Ekadashi. That's a good topic. We find Ekadashi preparations quite different across the world. People are, cooking differently on Ekadashi, and we're given some standard, of course. We're not usually preparing grains to offer to the devotees, but always when we're offering the deities, Krishna is not fasting from grain, so we're always preparing some of the same preparations to offer, but what we're serving to the devotees is a different matter. And usually we're told, what we're taught is when we're preparing Ekadasi preparations, is to not maybe make so opulent of preparations and try to be very simple in the sense that fruits, roots, and nuts, and can be some dairy as well, but that's kind of the basis, fruits, roots, and nuts, and not like vibrant colors like tomato or broccoli or even cauliflower is pretty opulent. A lot of potato, green papaya is there, and a lot of potato, you know, in different shapes and forms, a wet potato sabji, a dry potato sabji, you know, aloo bhaja, fried potato, you know, like that, and some nice fried nuts, like something of that sort. Some fried peanuts with raisins and maybe a little coconut is very nice. A little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, something like that is nice. But generally, we're trying to cook more simple and not using really anything besides like pepper, salt, ginger, and cumin on Ekadasi, or the spices kind of. That's what we're trying to use, and not really go into the whole palette of different spices to use for our preparations. More simple, and it's, you know, a service day, so we want the devotees to have substantial prasad so they can do their service, but at the same time, we don't need to make so opulent on Ekadasi. It's not necessary. Like that. But Ekadasi varies. You go different places, and Gurudev gave some, you know, special concession to certain places for using certain things, and people say, oh, can you use carrot on Ekadasi? And I've heard Gurudev say, you know, it's okay to use carrot, like to make a carrot halava or something, and yeah, like that. But, you know, it just really depends on where you go. And I mean, some places you travel to, you can have an Ekadasi feast there and not even realize it's Ekadasi because it's so nice and opulent. And I mean, I'm never one to oppose an opulent feast of any sorts, Ekadasi or not. I mean, Ekadasi for me is always a difficult day because I like to honor so many kinds of prasad, so it's always a nice test for me to not take grain or other different, you know, foodstuffs that we're not supposed to take on that day. And also packaged foods and foods from outside, we're also told not to take on Ekadasi so much. More simple things, you know. Some more heavy importance on Ekadasi day than just what prasadam we're taking, you know. Service mainly is the thing we're trying to focus on Ekadasi. So, yeah.
And one last question. He asked, do you do house calls?
Do I what?
Do you do house calls?
I do travel quite a bit around the world, and I mean, to be honest, I don't cook so much when I'm, you know, stay at my own place or my parents' place. A lot of the cooking I do is within the temple and for the devotees. I'm not like a very like big cook when it comes outside the temples. I don't do it so much on my personal time where I'll be somewhere. But if there's devotees and there's some program or there's devotees with some, you know, desire to cook something, I'm always happy to help. And, you know, and sometimes you know, in the past I've been in the UK. I was in London for some months, helping with the West London Temple, and there I did help with so much of the kitchen service, and I did cook there. But yes, I've never been to Ireland. I would be always happy to go to Ireland and cook something. If I'm ever on that side of the planet, surely I can come make a house call and prepare some nice preparations for the devotees, you know, for some preaching program or something. Of course, yeah. I do make house calls. What's that? But yeah, anyways, there's, like I said, we can talk about prasadam all night, you know. I really feel fortunate in my life to be, you know, raised around, you know, going to the temple and, you know, honoring prasadam and, you know, trying so many variations of, you know, people's preparations of prasadam, and, you know, just I really like honoring prasadam. It's one of my favorite pastimes. And you see, it's always, you know, such a nice way to preach to people as well. As like, of course, you know, that Krishna Katha and that, you know, conception of Gurudev is, you know, the main part, but also within that, you know, is what is being served out to those guests, you know. And so many stories we can hear of exalted Vaishnavas in our mission actually coming to Krishna consciousness through, you know, honoring some special kind of prasad, you know, and then they're like converted instantly because they tried some, you know, sweet preparation or some sabji that, like, you know, totally, like, you know, took them aback and just, as we say, knocked their socks off. And then they from that they came, from that they were converted, was from the prasadam. So it's a way of preaching, we must distribute that. Prasadam is, mercy of the Lord, the Lord's remnants. So if we can distribute prasadam to people, it's, a strong way of preaching, especially when we're distributing very nice prasadam as the devotees and followers, and of Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Maharaj are doing, always, preaching with prasadam. So we're always trying to have that kitchen consciousness, that's as they say. This is a kitchen religion, Krishna consciousness. Everything's spanning from the kitchen. If we're cooking, and the prasadam is nice, the devotees are happy. And when devotees are happy, they're all serving nicely and doing many nice, different, jobs and things. And it's all spanning from the kitchen. If the prasadam is good, the devotees are happy. If the devotees are happy, things are running smoothly. So we can end on that note. Jai Mahaprasad Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai all the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Maharaj Acharya Brinda Ki Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Maharaj Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Go Premanande Hrivo.
Maybe we can sing one song?
Yeah, we'll sing Hari Hari. Just give
And
me a book.
Jai Govinda Prabhu said that you are welcome.
Okay, Jai. Jai.
And much appreciated
Yeah.
and great things.
Very honored to be able to speak here amongst such a exalted assembly of Vaishnavas. Like I say, I'm a little bit shy too, because my territory is the kitchen. I come to the temple room to listen.